You're smart, you're motivated, you want to do something big. You're on the verge of being a young boss, and we're going to help you get there. I'm your host, Isabel Guarino, and welcome to the Young Boss Podcast, where youth is your power. Today's guest is the owner of Stefanie Becker Digital, a powerhouse in the digital marketing landscape, carving out her niche as the go-to expert for skyrocketing small women-owned businesses. With her unparalleled SEO skills and client servitude, Stefanie has built not only a book of business, but a community of other entrepreneurial moms just like herself. From dreams of the broadcast journalism world to establishing herself in the digital realm, I'm excited to chat with Stefanie about owning a small agency, what she's learned along the way, and what it's like to be an entrepreneurial mother, and what's next for Stefanie's businesses and personal life. Stefanie, welcome to the Young Boss Podcast.
Well, thank you. I don't think I've ever had an introduction like that ever before, but it feels good.
Good. I love it. Okay, well, we have never had an expert in SEO.
I'm glad to be here.
And everyone listening who owns their own business, wants to own their own business, if they're not aware of the power of SEO, it is so important when you're doing anything, right, in the marketing world. Mm-hmm. So what got you into SEO?
I got started in SEO really after college, but what had sparked my interest initially is I went to a free workshop that was hosted in the Valley about SEO for bloggers and for business owners.
Okay.
And when we got there, everybody had to go around and say what their blog or business was. And I didn't have anything like that.
You're like, I'm here for fun.
Yeah, I'm like trying to remember what even really brought me to that workshop, but I knew I wanted to be in digital marketing. I just didn't know in what capacity.
Yeah.
And the expert who was running the workshop, just afterwards, I sat and chat with her for a second. She gave me her card. And when I graduated and I was looking for jobs, I reached out again. I had sent over my resume, and that was my first job.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So that was like a year and a half after that workshop, but she just was excited to reconnect. And I think that was my foot in the door to the agency world.
I love that story. And for everyone who doesn't know, SEO is search engine optimization.
Yeah, so I can talk about that a little bit. So yeah, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And essentially it's the process of ranking your website at the top of Google.
Yep.
And so while that happens sometimes without effort, a lot of times for, strategic search terms. So we want our website to match what someone is searching, and Google's algorithm does just that. And so there are things that we can do from a marketing perspective, from a website perspective, that helps you rank towards the top of Google, because what data says is the higher your rank is, the more traffic you get. It's pretty remarkable what the difference between like the click-through rate, meaning how many people actually click on the first listing versus the third listing.
Oh yeah.
It makes a huge difference. So everything that we can do to help our clients or any website rank towards the top, that's all part of SEO, and that is what my agency does.
I love it. How has this changed with TikTok? Do you do anything in TikTok? Because to me, I feel like that's straight SEO searching. Like,
yes and no. So our agency doesn't work in social media specifically, but what's so interesting is I think the word algorithm finally means something to people. Okay. Whereas, day one at the agency, when I first got started in SEO, we were learning about Google's algorithm, and that's something I have been studying my whole career. Yeah. And so now everyone's so curious about TikTok's algorithm, about Instagram's algorithm, saying like, it's not in my favor. And it's just a little bit humorous because this is just a struggle that I've been through, like I said, since the start of my career. But when it comes to social media, so what is so cool about ranking websites, it's all content and very keyword driven. Yeah. And when it comes to social media, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to like insert keywords or like be as strategic with search. Yeah. But TikTok's algorithm is just so unbelievably sophisticated that they know exactly what you're saying, and Google's algorithm is also very sophisticated, but it's just kind of a different ball game.
It is.
Same concept, but different strategy, I would say.
100%. And I think that's something that people need to be aware of, because if they hire an SEO specialist, it's like, okay, but what do you specialize in?
Yes.
Right? Because it's very difficult to say, okay, I'm playing the NFL, the NBA, and the MLB. It's like, no. You probably play in one, right? So some people can do okay in everything, but it's like, if you are excelling and I know what to do on Google to get you there, okay, but I might not know these other realms. I can maybe point you in the direction of someone who does.
Exactly.
But they're all different ball games.
Exactly. We have great contacts who kill it in the social media space, but that's just not what we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so what made you shift from getting the job, working with that gal at the event, to doing your own thing?
So that gal actually, so she was my boss for several years, and now even still to this day, she is like one of my very best friends.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that so funny? I do love that story for that reason, because that's really how we met. I started my own agency shortly after I got married, because I started working with photographers and videographers and all of these small creative businesses. And the only way that you could ever find these people was through Instagram. Like, I felt like all the best people didn't really have websites. Like, they never shared their content there. And that's still the case.
Yeah.
But that's what really motivated me to say, I need to help these people. And it just started small, right? Like, I just reached out to my photographer, like, this is what I'm seeing work with my clients who have significant budgets. I know your budget is, 1/100th of it, but what could we pay, like, how could we pare down this strategy to make it work for you and for your size of company? And I just, like, one client turned into 2, turned into 3. And I started really getting passionate too about influencer marketing, because just seeing like these bloggers essentially like creating this website content and it would just blow up overnight. I just knew there was more opportunity there.
Yeah.
And so shortly after my son was born, I knew it was time for me to really dive in and see if I could make this work. And that was 5 years ago now.
It's amazing.
And it's just been great ever since.
I know you like to focus on working with other entrepreneurial mothers. What led you down that path?
Well, I really think it's just who you attract. Like, that was never really a thought.
Okay.
And it's just the content I like and I consume. So I know it so well that when I'm putting myself, so a lot of SEO is matching what people are searching for with what's in the content. Well, as a mom, I know what people are searching for. Yeah. I know the questions I had, and I know what I find interesting and what I like. I love pop culture. I love mom content. I love celebrity content. Like, I just feel like exactly the target audience. Exactly. So I just have attracted that clientele, and now I feel like it is somewhat of my niche, even though I have clients really all over in different spaces. It's just what I feel like I'm best at.
Yeah. For our listeners who are maybe still in the beginning stages of starting their businesses, when do you think that SEO should start utilizing it for their online marketing? Is it something that you do later down the road? Is it something you do right away?
Well, I think people are really intimidated by the process and the word and just feeling like this is something I'm going to do at a later time.
Yeah.
But what I feel like is misunderstood is if you are putting great content on your website, you are already working towards a great SEO strategy.
Yeah.
That is 90% of the battle.
Yeah.
Is just putting out consistent content. I compare it to any social media platform. If you only post once a month, it's just going to be really hard to grow.
Yep.
And same with your website. So anytime you're putting usually it comes in the form of like blog or podcast show notes, like something like that. But the more content you're putting on your website, like that is SEO. I can come in and I can help you decide people are like everybody is searching about this topic. Here's what I would write about to leverage more traffic, or instead of phrasing it this way, phrase it this way, because that's how people are typing it into Google.
Yep.
And that's like where my strategy comes in. But at the end of the day, the next step is just writing the content.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be scary or intimidating, but sit down and put out consistent content. I like to say once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Like as much as you would post to Instagram is how much I would be posting to your website. And that is SEO.
How has ChatGPT and different AI tools like that helped or harmed your industry?
I am a huge fan of ChatGPT. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's so helpful to get over that hurdle of structuring your blog posts or like if you need ideas. But of course, I mean, like anything, you can't just copy and paste what it spits out into a blog post. I mean, you can. And I think that's what's been happening over the last few years as it's become more prevalent in the market. But if everyone starts doing that and that's what's going to happen, your content will fall flat.
Yeah.
We use it as more of just to spark ideas. Yeah. It's easier to edit something than it is to start from scratch.
Yes.
So if I feel like this is something, it's all about what you put into ChatGPT too. If you put in one sentence, like write a blog post about this, it's never going to deliver what you need it to.
Yeah.
My prompts are like paragraphs long.
Right.
I do, like when in writing class, you would have to do like a 5-minute just like brain dump.
Yes.
That is exactly what I do into ChatGPT. And I feel like the results are so much better because of it.
I think that's true. The people who actually work with ChatGPT and get it to know their personality, their voice, their this, their that, and edit. You have to edit. To me, I use it for prompts.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
But you can't take exactly word for word what it's saying because we're all going to start sounding like
it's
robots.
Cheesy. And it's so cheesy.
Yes.
I feel like you can spot it a mile away, but it's just, like I said, easier to edit. I'm a fan when it makes sense.
Yep.
Not for every blog post, not for every, but it's just like, if I'm writing at 10 o'clock at night, I'm just like, I am tired or, I'm just like in the middle of the day, need a little pick me up. I just like to see like, okay, well, what ideas does ChatGPT have? And like, even if it's not the idea I go with, it got the process going.
Yeah.
And so why not?
Yep. I love it. Can you share any instances where going with a cheaper solution was actually more costly in the long run? Because I do think with SEO, sometimes people are like, let me get the cheapest, situation that I can. I know I need to do it, but I just want to tick it off. And they're not willing to really like maybe invest.
Well, I think in any business, the largest investment that you're going to make is in the people who are going to be on your team. And I have made that mistake 100 times because it's just hard. Like it's hard to let go of that part of your business. And, money obviously plays a part, but then, if you are an entrepreneur and it's your business, like having people help you with your clients, it just feels big and scary. Yeah. And so I would say it's more about just knowing what kind of help you really need. And when I say, making big investments is scary, it usually comes down to team members. Yeah. And I just learned the hard way that I like to invest in people who really know what they're doing in a specific area. Yeah. Hiring a generalist of like, I can do all of these different things has just burned me. Yeah. And it's not what I offer my clients. Like I'm just not a catch-all marketing solution. Like I am going to help you rank your website. I'm going to help you make money from your website. But I'm not going to tell you I'm great at social media because that's not what we focus on. Yeah. And so I think just hiring people who are great in specific roles is just the way to go. I also love that you just said that because I think that a lot of people, when they first start in business, they think like, I'm just going to say yes to everything. We talked about this on a previous episode. And when you're saying yes, and specifically in your field, if you don't actually know what you're doing, you're now wasting a lot of their money and their time. And now you're probably going to lose them as a client. Yeah. Instead of just being honest about your skills up front and say, this is my specialty. And, if you're looking for this, right, I can help guide you over here and send them to someone else who it's their specialty. That person will actually probably want to come back to you more often than not because you were honest instead of burning them. And now you get a bad reputation in the business. 1,000%. And I've made that mistake, especially at the beginning. Yeah. Because you want to grow, you want to work with people and you want to get experience and it's just not the way. I would have grown so much faster if I would have just stayed in my lane and not taken any project that came my way, unfortunately. And it's just something you have to learn. Yeah. I learned a lot along the way, that's for sure. How has systemizing and like delegating in your business helped things grow and change over the years? Well, that is not my nature. Like systems and like being, I would say for the most part, I'm detail oriented, but delegating is just not my skill set. Okay. It's something I still struggle with as I have added people to the team. Obviously it's something you kind of have to do. Yeah. And what I'm doing right now that is, I feel like a really important piece that I wish I would have done a lot earlier is create SOPs for every area of my business
Yes.
when I had the time.
Yep.
When I was small and I was looking for projects like to fill my time, that would have been a great task. But I was so focused on just getting more clients or growing, doing what I needed to do that I just thought like that will be a good task for another time.
Yes.
And that time is now and I don't have them. And so like right now I'm creating 2 SOPs a day. Just
oh my gosh.
to get to the backlog so that when people join my team or if I'm with my kids and something needs to be done,
this is how it's done.
we know how it's done the way that my clients expect it, the way I like it.
Yep.
And I just wish I would have done that from the beginning.
Yep. That is amazing advice, gold, because I tell people that all the time. They'll be like, I think I'm going to need to hire someone in 6 months. And I'm like, great.
Start prepping.
Right now, you need to lay out the job description, everything that's involved, all of your SOPs, so that you're prepared in 6 months when you bring them on. It's you're handing them the role instead of like, oh, now I'm overwhelmed. Now I also have to train you, because if you're already thinking I'm going to be overwhelmed in 6 months, like then start literally today.
I couldn't agree more. And that goes back to making your investment worthwhile.
Yeah.
I have had people who've been in roles for a month and it took them a month of learning. Like if I would have just created those SOPs and had the system for them when they were brought on, we wouldn't be into a month of learning.
It's like you just wasted now your own money.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at them being like, why aren't you getting it? It's not
a
their
lose-lose.
fault, right? Like, and then you already are starting on a bad foot. So
this sounds very familiar. So don't, to anyone listening, don't do that.
Yes.
It's just, like I said, something you have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
But I have learned that lesson and we are making a complete 180.
I love it.
Even like in real time, SOPs are the main focus we have right now.
Awesome. I think it's really, really important. Looking back, is there a mistake you made, right, that you now recognize as like, oh, this was super pivotal and I'm actually glad that I had to go through this?
I mean, oh gosh, there's so many. There really is so many. I think
good.
It really, I would say, comes back to taking projects that aren't within
The scope.
my expertise.
Yep.
And not asking for help. Like everything that you need to know is already been created. Someone's already done it.
Yeah.
And so take the time, and if you have the finances, to invest in your business education early on.
Yeah.
Get a business coach who you feel confident can take you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
Make decisions quickly if you feel like something's not working out, like, and use your investments wisely. So like I said, I think we were talking about SOPs and we maybe didn't even explain what an SOP is, but
yes, great.
It's essentially just a process document. So it could be either a written document. I like doing screen share videos a lot.
Yeah, like Looms or Zooms, whatever they are.
If you're not using Loom, like you got to use Loom.
Yes.
And just documenting every little step in your business. And I was listening to another podcast and they were saying that if you can't fit what you're doing into an SOP, you shouldn't be doing it. Because or you should be charging 10 times that because it's too customized. Like it's not repeatable.
Right.
And wow, that opened my eyes like crazy.
Yeah.
So I would say just while you're small and while you feel like you have the time, spend the time creating the system so that way when you're big and you have clients and you're busy, like that is just not something you're stressed about.
Yeah.
It's hard to go
take it
back.
off the plate now. Yeah.
1000%.
Which I think is hard because so many visionaries, owners of businesses, they're just thinking ahead, instead of what do I do right now to be prepared for, the coming time. So
yeah, writing an SOP is like my worst form of torture. It is just so not who I am.
Yeah, but remember, it's for a season. But it's for a season, and it will help you for the rest of your career. And the thing is, they're going to need to be updated.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's whoever's doing it the most often, they can update it. You don't have to.
Right.
So just get it out of you the one time.
It seems simple.
It seems simple.
Yeah.
Until you sit down to do it.
Uh-huh.
Hey, it's Isabel. Thanks for listening to the Young Boss podcast. I recently wrote a book called Young Boss, and it's filled with top tips I've learned over the years on how to survive and thrive in business. Pre-order your copy now by heading to the link in the podcast description. Now, back to the show. Okay, tell me a little bit. We've talked about imposter syndrome quite a bit on this show. And I feel like women in business feel that often. And then young professionals, like, you know, you have a lot going on. Have you ever felt imposter syndrome, and how have you dealt with it?
Yes, all the time. Even still, I think SEO is so male driven. Like all of the main voices in SEO are men.
Yep.
And for a long time, I think I was really nervous to share what I knew what was working for me and for my clients, because it wasn't as technical as I sometimes feel like SEO experts make it really complicated so that people feel nervous and
I can't do this.
I can't do this. It's too hard. And there are technical aspects to SEO, but I am an SEO expert, and I'm not like hard coding. Like I don't even know how to code. It's not it's not necessary.
Yes.
And so I think I have a course. It's called SEO School.
Yeah.
And I think at first I was really nervous to market it, because I honestly had thoughts of like, what if one of these big SEO names in the industry who's a male takes my course and picks it apart, and, you know, just like all these irrational things that like are not going to happen. But it's like, I just should have stood confident in what I knew was working for my clientele, because these men are not working with my clientele.
Yeah.
And I know what's working. I know this audience probably even better than they do.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. It's just hard to do. But over time, you really just start to grow confident in yourself.
Were your parents entrepreneurs?
My dad is only recently an entrepreneur.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
So you've kind of been going through this journey with him a little.
Yes. He he had a very successful corporate career for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I think almost 2 years ago now, he started his own business. He bought into a franchise that he's so passionate about.
I love it.
And him and his business partner are just doing such an amazing job. They own Homestead Surprise, Arizona.
Yeah.
And so they help connect caregivers with families in Surprise AZ, and they are just doing amazing work. But my dad definitely pushed me into taking this on and knowing that I could do it while he was in his corporate career. And then a few years later, he followed after me. So
do you think he was inspired by you?
Probably not. I know that his business is very successful. I think that he just valued, do you know what I think it is? Is like, he just spent so much time in his corporate career, and family is so important. And now that I have kids, being able to be there, like be more present with the family, the time freedom, right? That's like what we're all after. Yeah. And I think, when he started his career, maybe that wasn't something that was as important, and now it is. And so it's just been really fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think you did inspire him.
Oh, that's so nice.
Because the thing is like, you want your kids to be a better version of you.
Yeah.
So for him to say, hey, I know I've done this, but I want to encourage you to go do it. And then when you do it, he sees you do it, you're successful. I'm sure, even though it's totally another realm, he's like, I could probably do this too. So I'm sure you did a little bit.
That is so sweet. And I'll have to tell him. I've never asked him that, but we are very close. So immediately after this, we're going to have that talk.
Yeah. You need to be like, Dad, am I your inspo? I love it. How has having your name as the brand helped with, your working style or your growth? And was that like a conscious decision to have it be your name?
It was in the beginning, because it was just me. And for the most part, it is still just me. Don't know. I didn't really have another name for it, but it's something it's funny that you asked that, because it really top of mind in the last few months. As I think about where the company is headed and what I want to do, there are some limitations with it being my name. Yeah. When someone jumps on a discovery call with me, they want to talk to Stefanie. Yeah. And so I'm just thinking like what the future looks like for us, and do I want anyone else to be able to do a sales call? Because I was looking at some new branding, and I jumped on a call with someone else, and she said, oh, I am the onboarding manager. And that was the first person that I talked to. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks. I was like, oh, it's not the owner. And I'm like, could I ever do something like that? And right now I'm so in it and so connected that that's not where we're at today. But in 6 months, in a year, like, is that what I would want? And I feel like my name can in some ways hold me back from that. But at the same time, it's what's propelled me to this point. Yeah. Because now I feel like my name is better known just within like the niches that I work in.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, it's worked up until this point. Is it where we're going to be in 2 or 3 years? Who knows? Yeah. But I think it served me when I was much smaller. Our agency was much smaller.
Yeah. I think it's really cool because when people think about naming their businesses, you can get really super creative. Yeah. You can go with your own name, and then you're exactly right. I think it's probably you more feel it's a limitation than it truly is, because there's a million and one brands that are named after someone, and we don't speak to that person when you interact with them, and you're fine, you know, and it is the way that they manage the expectations. Like you're saying on that first call, hey, this is who I am. I represent Stefanie or whatever.
That's so true.
But it is true. It's interesting to think of branding and naming, and because you're in literally the business of words, like what words do people search? What words do people do this? It's almost interesting in that sense as well, because what words are they searching when they're looking for an SEO coach, right? When they're looking to learn how to do this themselves or work with you. And so having those perfect names is really important, you know?
That is a really good point, and not one that I had really put together. I overthink everything. So that is not surprising that is your feedback for me, and I appreciate that. I truly don't know where we're headed as far as like with the name. Yeah. I think like I just get so much joy from being someone's like go-to person. Yeah. And I have a lot of fulfillment in like, you know, getting a good job from a client. And so I think like having my name, I always intended just to be like working in a contractor role. Like I didn't really have these dreams of like building an agency. Like I just wanted to help work with clients and join their team and join whatever they had going on and be excited about their brand. And now we have a need for our own identity. And that's where this whole conversation is happening.
Yeah. It's like it's going from a side gig, a hobby, to like you're on the precipice of being like, is this like this big thing now? What's going on? Does that scare you? How has that transition looked over time?
It really is so personal because it comes down to my kids. I have 2 little kids, they're 4 and 2. And so everything has really played out over the span of growing our family. And so when I think about where we're headed, I'm like, oh, you know, thinking about, do I want more kids? Like how old are they going to be? Are they going to be in school? How much do they need me? And which is, you know, it kind of ties in together everything we've talked about today, where I'm like, I need help. Like I need structure. I need to, and you know, we have all of that, but it's more of just like, it's a feeling of being able to step away rather than just being scared to actually do that. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think when it comes to thinking about the future, it really comes down to how much I want to be involved with the business and my kids, but both are growing at such like rapid speed. And I have like an equal heart for both of those things. Yeah. And it's just, I think, a struggle that like all moms go through.
Yes. And what a beautiful thing. Like your kids are getting to watch their mom build something, be like the face of something, and really like also balance being with them all the time. And I think that's a beautiful thing, an example that you're setting for them too.
Well, thank you. They are the best. Like I said, they're 4 and 2, and they're just like at such fun and special ages. And they're the reason I do this. Yeah. So I can be with them, and they have propelled me in such a way to like focus on what really matters. Like I have cut all the fluff from my life to be able to be 100% business owner in Stefanie Becker Digital and 100% mom. Yeah. And that is like doing both of those things simultaneously is like pure happiness to me.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that's so important that a lot of young professionals, once they own their own business, once they have a child, it becomes either so much more important to make their business something, right? Or it's like, these are the factors in my life. And now I need to really learn, how am I going to balance all of this and balance it in a way that they can be growing at the same time, right? Like, and it's a beautiful thing, but you now have limited time. Yeah. So what do you spend your time on? Like what you have to decide what's the most valuable thing that I could be doing right now. And I know you said you don't love delegating, but it's like, you're going to have to like, obviously if you choose to grow, that's going to be the only way.
I completely agree. I feel like in both entrepreneurship and just business in general
and
in motherhood, it's like holding up a mirror to all of the things that you either don't do well or that you need to improve on. They just, in both of those scenarios, like I feel like I'm constantly looking at, these are the things that I need to do better or that I'm not strong in. And that maybe sounds negative, but it's really such a motivator to, like, you know, with my kids, like they're holding up, like I said, they're holding up a mirror into all of the ways that I need to be more patient, that I need to be more kind and present away from my phone. And in business, it's all of the ways that I need to stick up for myself, that I need to delegate, all of these things, like be more structured in my day to day. And I'm just like constantly aware of how I can make it better.
Yes. But I love that it seems that you're very self-aware. And I think I like that, because there's so many people who just run and gun and never look around to say, what can I truly improve on? And I agree with you. I think the moment you do your own thing is the moment it hits you in the face. Like, oh man, I'm not good at this and I'm not good at that. And you can almost get in this whirlwind of just all the things that you suck at, right? But then it's like, okay, well then what am I going to focus on? What am I going to improve? Because some of these skills, they could be learned skills. They could be things that you do, and some of them are just, it's not for you. Like, and that's okay.
That is so okay. It's figuring that out is, I think, what the best names in business do. Like they only do exactly what they're good at.
Bingo.
And it's just figuring that out.
Yep. I love it. What do you find most rewarding about being a small business owner?
There's so much. It's very rewarding to own your time. Even though you spend a lot more time. I spend more time on my business than I did in my 9 to 5. I would say thinking about it than my 9 to 5. I also love being able to work with other people in this industry that I really care about and that I feel like are doing great work. So when I have a project that I need help with, being able to work with contractors and other companies who I know are doing great things. They stand for something. They are, you know, putting good energy into our community, especially in Phoenix, where I think our entrepreneurial community is so strong. And it's just like a really fun part to be able to essentially choose your coworkers. I love that.
Yes. Building your team. I work with a ton of friends and family, and I always like to work with people that I know and love, because it's like, I'm going to have to hang out with you all day. I want it to be someone I actually am like, hey, how's your life? What's going on? Not some like stranger who I don't know, who you're just coming in to do a job. Like, I want to talk to you like a normal human, you know? So.
And when it comes to, like, you know, the whole mom life of it all, a lot of my clients are moms. And so when they don't get back to me, they're like, oh my gosh, let me call you back in 10 minutes. Like, I know what they're doing. I know they're not mad at me. I know that everything's fine, and they'll call me back in an hour and it's all good. And it's just being able to be in that community, especially when my kids are really young, is just so important to me. And I wouldn't have known that before I had kids.
It changes the way you think, the way you interact, and I will surely find out.
I can't wait.
I love it. For any of our young bosses listening, what are like 3 hot tips for maximizing SEO?
Great question. I would say the first is get into a habit of content creation for your website.
Okay.
So whether that's a blog, whether that's podcast show notes, you need to be publishing a new URL to your website, I would say once or twice a week, to be able to be more discoverable on Google.
Okay.
So that's just one thing. No matter what the content is, just get into the habit of content creation.
Okay.
I would say the second thing is think about how someone would search for the topic that you are writing about. So if you are writing about like a specific tutorial, or put yourself in the shoes of the person who would be looking for that content. What are they looking for? And that phrase or that keyword should be in your title. It should be throughout your content, and it should be in the URL. Those are like the SEO basics that even without an SEO expert in your back pocket, that you could do to rank as soon as possible. So I would say just put yourself in the shoes of the person looking for that content. And then the third would be to create a Google My Business profile if you are a small business or a local business.
Okay.
That is a really important way, an easy way to get more real estate on Google. And a Google My Business profile is like when you search for a business and on the right-hand side how it has like that full built out profile.
Yep.
That's free. And I mean, all of SEO is free. That's why another reason why I'm so passionate about it is it's not a paid ad. This is something anybody could do at any budget because it is free to put your website on Google. You just have to create the content.
Yeah.
So I would say think about it like you would as vital as all of your social media profiles. Like you would never let those go stagnant. And I would say don't let your website get stagnant either.
Love it. Those are amazing tips, and hopefully everybody can utilize them.
Yeah, I hope so.
When it comes to delegating more and then what's next for you, because everything is growing like crazy right now, are there certain things that you're going to implement maybe that can get you to kind of step out of the business a little bit more and be able to manage it more, maybe more passively or a little more hands off?
Well, that's everyone's goal, I think, right? Well, I think in the age of like AI and ChatGPT, that is just such an important conversation right now. And yeah, that's always something at the forefront that I'm trying to work on, but I'm really trying to put myself in the needs of the people who want to have SEO help, but they're not really ready to have an SEO manager, or it's not a priority. They need help in other areas, but there are just things about your website and pieces of data that play such an important role in your marketing that just can't be ignored. And so one thing that we are going to be working on in 2024 is a reporting dashboard that anybody can sign up for and be a part of Stefanie Becker Digital and be a client. And so there'll be different levels of feedback that you can get from me on your website analytics. Yeah, it's really cool. It all connects to Google Analytics. So I would say that is another tip that I would bring up that I think is very important, is start tracking your analytics. Google Analytics is completely free. Yeah. And so this dashboard will be essentially pulling out the data that I look for. Google Analytics is so comprehensive and all of it is important, but there are definitely key metrics that I look at for my clients that tell me if they're on the right track, where the opportunities are. And so my goal in 2024 is to bring that to anybody who wants it.
I love it.
And that's a huge focus for us right now.
That is amazing. And it's a great way for people to kind of see the skills that you can offer to then say, okay, I want more. Right?
Yes.
So, and I've played with Google Analytics before. I mean, we use it for all of our businesses, and then I passed it to other people who know what they're doing, right? Hired professionals just like you. But in the beginning, you're looking at it, you're like, what's even going on here?
Right.
And so it helps to have somebody say, these are the main things that you need to look at. Like everything's important, but this is the most important. So I think that sounds like an amazing tool.
Well, thank you. And, even if you're not paying attention to this data right now, about when it comes to Google Analytics, it doesn't collect data retroactively. So it only starts collecting information from the time you put that code on your website. So even if you're not focused on marketing right now, even if you're just getting started, you lose nothing by having that code. And when you are ready to start looking at your analytics, you're going to have so much data to look at so that you're not, looking at a blank dashboard for the first time when you are wanting to make data-driven decisions.
Love it. Yes. I feel like in a lot of the masterminds that I go to, people are always like, I don't want to give away my secret sauce, right? They're like, I just want to give them like little bits of information. And I feel like you have the total opposite energy where you are very giving, very like, you can go do this, but if you need my help, I'm here. And I really love that. I appreciate that because I think people think that they have this magical formula and it's like, people can figure it out, but with you, you're paying for speed. I'm getting it taken care of. It's off my plate. I don't have to worry about it. It's in a professional's hands who knows what they're doing.
That is such a good point. And that is exactly how I feel. With SEO, there's just so much to know. I'll spend my lifetime studying SEO. Yeah. So if I can share what I do know, I know like that special sauce that you are talking about, that comes from you knowing your own content so well. And even as an SEO expert, I rely on my clients to tell me like what matters to your audience. There is just a piece of writing your own content that you can't possibly recreate just by hiring an SEO expert, but I can point you in the right direction to tell you, here's what people want to know, and how you write that and provide that to your audience is what makes you unique.
Yeah, I love it. I really appreciate you being here today.
Well,
it's been
for
so
having
fun.
Me. Yes.
And I feel that SEO is something everybody needs to utilize. We have some young bosses who come on, they're like, I don't do any marketing. And I'm like, just get a website. Like, it's not that hard.
Website. And I have a free resource that I can get, we can hand out like it's a classroom that we can link somewhere. And I do offer, it's called SEO School. So if you want to learn how to do SEO for yourself or even for your clients, this is a complete online course that teaches you how to do that with, of course, an added level of mentorship from me. So it's not like something you're having to do all on your own.
Love it.
And that's a really fun part of my business too, that I'm really passionate about growing next year.
Okay, so SEO School, the link will be here in the show notes, so be sure to check it out. It's been amazing having you here.
So good to see you.
We are sorority sisters.
Yes.
Did you guys know? But I feel like
I'm sure like most people don't.
We weren't in
I think
long.
We were like 1 year we overlapped. But of course, like I've followed you since those days, and just seeing the podcast grow and the business grow, it's so fun to have sisters doing what you're doing
business.
Yeah,
I love it. I agree. It's been fun to follow you too. Okay, guys, thanks for listening to another episode of the Young Boss Podcast with your host, Isabel Garino. Be sure to like, share, and follow on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And let us know, are you using SEO? Remember, youth is your power.